Nnenna, Elendu, Ukeje, member representing Bende Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, of course, I share the sentiments of all my colleagues who have spoken before me, and they've called this situation anything from tragic to embarrassing. One of my colleagues actually called it shameful. But Mr. Speaker, sir, for me, this is a state of deja vu. We have been here before. It happened in Chibok exactly 4 years to the day, almost 4 years to the day. 48 boys were slaughtered in their beds in Buniyadi, and now we have lost 110 girls in Dapchi. Mr. Speaker, the concern that I have is that we must, as a country, be told the true state of this counterinsurgency war. Mr. Speaker, a lot of words have been bandied around. Technically defeated, downgraded, uprooted, won, and finally defeated. Mr. Speaker, what that does to us as a people is that we're pulled into this false sense of security, and therefore the way in which we would normally react in a country at the height of Boko Haram has been downgraded as the claims that Boko Haram has been downgraded, with the consequence that a girls' school in the northeast had only 2 old men as guards. Mr. Speaker, I've listened, I've watched television, and I've read a lot about this, and there's so many conflicting stories. They say they pulled out, the military pulled out a week ago. The military spokesperson claims that they pulled out 6 weeks ago. The state is saying that they walked away. Now, in the face of everything that concerns us, we're even starting to look at the possibility of a conspiracy theory. Mr. Speaker, the issue is not about whether there is a mole. It's about what we're doing about insurgency. The truth of the matter, Mr. Speaker, is that I've had conversations with a lot of soldiers. And we all recognize that this insurgency war is not a Nigerian situation. It is a cross-border war. Mr. Speaker, with the success of the war in Mosul by the Allied forces, it means, and they use those same words, that ISIS had been dislodged. Mr. Speaker, terrorism is like a balloon. If you apply pressure somewhere, all the air goes somewhere else. I have said on this floor before that it's not coincidental that as Mosul fell, we saw more bombings by Boko Haram. Mr. Speaker, this is a very migratory war, and it brings me to the structures and the systems. I sit on the Committee on Defense, and I looked at the budget. Mr. Speaker, so the budget for the College of Terrorism is almost non-existent. Now, Mr. Speaker, I believe that as a country we must start to budget for policy. What are our problems? Is there commitment to rolling back this terrorism? Is there commitment? Must we continue not to inform the people of the true state of affairs? Mr. Speaker, Gwoza is there. Sambisa is still taking over. Certain places in the state of Maiduguri, outside of Maiduguri, Mr. Speaker, sir, there's still terrorist activities. When we continue to say these things to the citizenry, Mr. Speaker, the citizenry gets upset. What is happening? If indeed we had technically downgraded Boko Haram and Shekau was on the run, now we hear that it is the faction that has affiliations with ISIS that took this girl. So it is, of course, we can assume that ISIS and the people from Mosul are one. But, Mr. Speaker, my concern is that we all know that in reading books on terrorism, that when they have lost their rating on the leaderboard, they are going to start to do desperate things, look for soft targets so that they have respect in the criminal world. Mr. Speaker, I believe that if indeed, and this is a point again for me to congratulate the gallant men and women of the Nigerian Armed Forces, we have downgraded Boko Haram. On the run, Mr. Speaker, sir, they are going to start to hit soft targets. So I think that what is of the utmost import is that the coordination between the security agencies is a given, but the citizenry, Mr. Speaker, and that is where us as members of parliament who engage with our constituents must come in, that we must engage with them, ascertain the true state of this war, ascertain the true strength of Boko Haram, asserting the true strength of the ISIS-affiliated Boko Haram, and tell our constituents, increase the awareness with the Nigerian police, because the job of the military is to secure the territorial integrity of the state and hand over to the police, so that the police can be alive to their responsibilities, Mr. Speaker. This is exceedingly tragic. Of course, the stories that come out of the press, some say they've moved them to Niger, some say this, and it is all in the realm of conjecture. I believe that the most important thing as a parliament is to get the military bosses so that they can give us, so that we understand the true state and have ourselves properly positioned so that we can, as a citizenry, protect ourselves in the face of this counter-terrorism war that seems to be unending. Thank you very much.